Feisties, welcome back to the Feisty Try podcast. It is Friday, April 3rd, and this is Carrie. This is not Kelly, if you have noticed a more positive bent to my voice today. This is Carrie, editor at Feisty, steering the ship for Kelly this week. And today we are pleased to welcome our special guest, Natasha Van Der Merwe of NVDM Coaching. Natasha, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to discussing.
Of course, we have a lot to discuss, but I want to just give a little bit of props to Natasha. She and I have known each other probably since 2006 in the Austin triathlon space. We have been a part of several teams together, and we have led teams together. And so I have always admired your approach to life and your work ethic. You were also very instrumental in a pivot that I made a year ago when I decided to be crazy and sign up for Hyrox. And that is also part of the topic of discussion in the second half of today's show is what is the deal with Hyrox and why is everybody, namely triathletes, putting ourselves through yet another piece of torture because as we know, triathletes love torture. So, but first, Katie, hey, you made it back from Mississippi. Tell us about how Gulfport went. The Clash. What was it called again? It was the Clash.
It was a big weekend because it had quite a few races. So it's Clash Endurance, and they had not just Collegiate Club Nationals was being held there, but they also had America's Cup Gulfport, and then they had age group races as well. So it was really awesome in the sense that it was just like huge. There were so many people, and I said this before, but like the collegiate club aspect of it brings like the energy. Like people are dressed up, they are excited, and it did not disappoint this weekend either, or last weekend. We on terms of like OXO, I was super excited because one of our athletes, Maya Riley, she actually won the Collegiate Club Draft Legal. She's a senior, and I know I was like, I'm not usually an emotional person when it comes to like even my own racing, and like watching her cross the finish line, like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting emotional. But no, it was super cool to see. She won so for Collegiate Club, they have the draft legal race, which they did on Friday alongside the America's Cup races, which were in the morning. And then on Saturday, they have the Olympic distance non-draft in the morning, and then the mixed relay in the afternoon, for the Collegiate Club gang. And my athlete Maya actually raced all three, which I was like, whew, big weekend.
Wow.
And so Casey Masden from CU Boulder, she won the non-draft Collegiate Club non-draft the next day. Queens won the mixed relay, and they're like really well known for their club team being super competitive. And then the America's Cup, which for World Triathlon happened, Kelly Wedelin clinched first. She came out top in the water, had like a super strong bike, and then ran to it was her first win of World Triathlon racing. And Gwen, I would say I'd be interested in her like reflections on it, but she missed making that front pack just by a smidge, and then they didn't catch the front pack, and she had an amazing run, but she finished second. And I would say like when I look at it, I'm like Kelly Wetland had like a standout performance, and it's just goes to show like you can watch this girl, like she just keeps climbing and climbing. She's at U of A.
Yep. I saw her kit. I feel like
Yeah.
U of A, Arizona just always like brings it.
Yeah, and they're multiple time national champions now in NCAA. So it's just been really cool watching kind of her career, and I'm excited for the rest of the season for her. But yeah, big weekend. Tommy and I, we were only there. We flew in we left on Thursday morning, got in like at 8 a.m. there. We let 5:15 flight out. And then we left the next day after the races. So it was pretty whirlwind for our
What
crew.
I'm dying to know is, how did Josie manage with mommy on the sidelines cheering on her athletes?
Ah, she was incredible, and she's learned how to clap, and we call them party hands. I don't know. Yeah, this is a podcast, but she just puts her hands up. Although she was out in the sun, she smashed it. She was very good. She's her introduction to World Triathlon. We kind of eased her in with Claremont, and now she's all in.
Yeah. Yeah. And your athletes, you said, had like a mixed bag of results, but you also said last week that this particular race wasn't a necessarily like a defining race for people. It was just more of like a gut check. Here's where we're at, this at this point in the season. So, how did your athletes fare?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of my athletes are just like coming on to the scene of the professional racing. And so it was a mixed bag, but I keep trying to remind them like there is no defining race. Like even at the Olympics, like the best I ever did was when I like focused on the process and wasn't dialed into the outcome. And some of these races where you have the biggest misses, it's like, okay, well, these are going to just help you for like the next race. If when you have like a good race completely, like it's incredible that feeling, but like your takeaways aren't as many as when you have like these. So these aren't, I was like, I always try to tell them these aren't pass fail. Like these are just like feedback mechanisms and just exactly like you said, see where we're at, see where we're going. So one of our athletes, Mac McConaughey, this was her very first world triathlon race. She let out of the swim. She stuck there with the front pack on the bike, which was like, I was like that was a win, like in terms of like what we were looking for. And then yeah, one of our other girls, she had her fourth fastest run. One of our guys had one of the best coming out of the swim, being in the like pack that he wanted to be in. So, yeah, I think I always think like the numbers on the results, like they never tell the whole story, which is really hard, I think, for individuals. But yeah,
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
start.
Yeah. And Coach Natasha, it's how you were shaking your head a lot as Katie was talking about her athletes and how you can't always judge success by the day as a whole, but if you can break the performance down into small wins or achieving little goals throughout the day, then it is a win. Is that something that resonates with you as a coach and all of your athletes?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just learning from Katie the way she was saying pass fail and feedback mechanisms. I just love how other coaches have their descriptions of essentially what the athlete is going to get from that race experience. So I've never used pass fail before, by the way. So I'm going to be using that moving forward. But no, I mean, that's exactly it. It's the first race of the season. Everyone is so nervous and they put in a ton of work to prepare for that race. And so it's getting as much feedback as possible from that first race experience that's going to set them up for the rest of the season and takes the pressure off a little bit. And that's basically what we had. We had a 42 athletes race, Texas 70.3, and we pretty much focused on that. Like we're going in to gain experience because we had so many first timers as well. And now everyone signed up for Gulf Coast in like 6 weeks. They're like so excited to like turn around. Hey, let's do it again. We learned this little piece of it. Let's fix it. Because the fun thing is you can see that the fitness is there and it's really just the execution now that needs to happen. And one or two changes and all of a sudden the result is drastically different. And now you move from seventh to second just because of that small shift, which is exciting for all of them. So yeah,
Yeah.
good.
And you were, so as you just alluded to, you were out in Galveston at Ironman
Yeah.
Texas 70.3. We also had Oceanside happening the same weekend. Galveston, let's talk about Galveston first before we talk about Oceanside, because there was a lot that happened at Oceanside. In Galveston, it was not a professional race. It was an age group race. How were the conditions out there, and what was your experience on the ground?
Honestly, it was one of the best days in Galveston that has ever occurred.
God dang
You
it.
know,
I have done that race way too many times and it has sucked.
yeah, what can one expect is always a very windy day, and we're always wondering where is the wind going to come from on this day. And that day, the speed was equal on the bike, which just never happens. But what did come out was the heat, and so we had a lot of athletes finish that race and going, "Wow, I was way under hydration, way under on sodium. need to up that, maybe had not exposed themselves to as much heat training as they probably should have in the build up. But just an absolutely perfect day. And it was fun. The athletes that won, Brian Mooney, he was flying on the run course. I think he ran like a 112 or something crazy. And so we just saw him move through and just close in so quickly on the guys in front of him. And then Jessica Lasley, I think she's won that race like 4 times, obviously ex-professional. So it was fun to see her bring in the mom energy as well as like the older athlete, the fact that she's still beating out these youngsters. Because I mean, she must be 40 to 44 age group, if not 45 to 49 age group, and still winning on her bike run combo, which I just think is super empowering. And then there was one athlete, I think she came 3rd or 4th overall, and she was in the 45 to 49 age group. And then here battling it out with a 19-year-old, like trying to run him down. So super competitive racing and a great day out there.
Joanne, there's still hope for us age groupers.
I'm too busy talking on finish lines, though. I'm not sure when I'll ever get to do an Ironman 70.3 again, but never say never. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. The times I've done Galveston, it has always just been either gale force winds or rains, or it's just epic conditions. I'm still recovering from Little Elm 70.3 or 69.1 or whatever we ended up doing that day. Yeah, I'm still.
That was nuts.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I don't know if I told you guys, but I was sitting in my car for 1 second and just to escape the wind. And I just remember opening my car door and it whipped out against the pole and I have a major dent in my car. But I was just thinking, wow, that whipped my car door like that. I just can't even imagine these cyclists out there with these massive gale force winds blowing through. It was nuts. Full respect to everyone who finished that race.
Yeah, it became laughable at a certain point, for at least me, it became pretty laughable. And that's the perspective that I, as a 50 to 54-year-old who's been doing this for a long time, like that's the perspective I'm trying to bring to my racing now, which is just, yes, I still want to be relevant. I still want to compete to the best of my ability, but this is all like the absurdity of all of it is actually quite comical of what we get to do out there. So so again, Natasha was out there. So thanks for high-fiving me every time I went by, and being out there to cheer for everyone, not just the NVDM athletes, of which there are many, but thanks for cheering for everyone. The other big race last weekend was, of course, Oceanside 70.3. We have, all of us have a lot of thoughts and observations about that one. Taylor and Christian Blumenfeld just blowing away course records, which was kind of predicted that morning when I was listening to the commentary of Sid, and they were like, oh, the conditions are really good today. So I don't think it was a huge surprise that those course records went down. I think, at least in the men, I think the top 9 men broke the course record. So it wasn't just Christian that did it. What
And the course
observation?
ended up staying the same, right? In the end?
Yes, they did. Yes, they went through Pendleton. The course did not change. So yeah, there was definitely some doubt that was going to happen, since there was a deployment of some of the troops. So yeah, that stayed the same. It looked like it was a beautiful day out there. What observations do any of you have from the race besides, Taylor's just on fire?
What's interesting is that both Taylor and Christian came from the Southern Hemisphere to race in the States, and both absolutely smashed it. Like Christian was on fire like the whole way through, and it was just insane what he did. Jonas was incredible as well, but what in the men's race, just for 1 second, is Casper Stornes. Did you see him overtake in the last few minutes of his run? He actually sprinted to run into that 3rd place. Like, he picked up the pace incredibly. I don't know where it came from, but oh my word, he was absolutely not letting that podium get away from him. I just think it's incredible what they were able to do to turn around. And Salve, in the end, I think Taylor maybe slowed down a little bit. Like, she was well ahead of the pack. I know she's racing in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. on the 18th of April, I think it is. So that's what,
Yep.
is that 2 weeks away now?
Yes.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah. You know, but Solveig, her run was phenomenal. Her run was a 1:12. I mean, I think that was a personal best for her over that.
1:15,
1:15.
almost
Sorry,
1:15.
yeah, sorry. Thank you for correcting me. Yes, we don't want to have to issue a correction for next week. So what was that again, Katie?
1:14:49.
Thanks, Katie. I mean, when you think Christian ran a 10, did he run a 106? I'm going to say again, a 106, 107. I know he did a 106 in July.
107.
107.
Yeah.
Like, it's great. The paces that they were running, it was just amazing. But it was incredible to watch and see the race unfold. And then for third place, I think that was only the second ever race for Audrey from France, Audrey Merle. Was that only her second ever Ironman 70.3?
I'm not sure, but I would like to say that my World Triathlon podium, all 6 of them come from the background. So
I knew you were. I had that in my head to bring up, Katie, because you made that prediction last week. You said it's going to come from WTC. These podiums are, and it is bearing out in spades these days.
Yeah, thank goodness for Casper's sprint.
I mean, in that moment, I did feel a little bad for Sam Long because there was zero answer at that point. And boy, Sam gave it everything that he had. I also, you know, it's a bit of a love-hate because he also expends a lot of energy trying to rile people up and entice the cameras to come with him on the bike and his yo-yo. So he definitely expends a lot of energy not racing, but bringing the vibes. And who knows? Does that cost him in the end? I don't know. But
when Sam crossed the finish line, his expression, I don't know whether it was damn, it was a good race or damn, it was a bad race. I couldn't make out whether he was happy or sad. Did anybody catch any of Sam's post-race stuff? Yeah. I think he left it all out there. He gave a good shot against the world champions.
Yeah. And I did read his post-race posts on Instagram, and he essentially, Joanne, he kind of expressed both, right? He was so proud of the way he just went for it. And I think that was his takeaway for this race, was that he wasn't conservative at all and was so happy to be with the lead pack in the swim, which is something that, I don't think he traditionally is. So he had a great swim and then just went for it on the bike and the run. And for that, he is proud, albeit disappointed that he just didn't have, the real estate was just too long in the end for him to hold on to that podium spot. So yeah, it was great. I'm Ironman Texas is in 2 weeks, as we just said. I know last week, I'm going to issue a correction on Kelly's behalf, that I think last week she said, oh, Kat's not racing. And Natasha, she is racing, right? Ironman Texas.
Yes.
Yep. As is Taylor, as is Solveig. Oh boy. Who else is going to be out there? Is Jackie racing?
I believe so. I actually haven't looked at the start list, but I believe so, yes.
So, Natasha, you have been in, before we come back to Oceanside, you've been in Ironman Texas in the Woodlands multiple times. What is your take on that race? What can we expect?
I mean, I think it's going to be a great race. Yeah. I mean, with that championship field, always brings about hot conditions. They always say it's so similar to Kona. And so what you can expect in Texas, they always say, is what you can expect in Kona, with the type of course, to be honest, as well as the conditions of the day. It's been so hot here. I mean, we didn't have winter at all. So I'm expecting a blazing hot day. And whoever's going to be really smart out there on the day is going to be the one that thrives and wins it. But yeah, I mean, this looks to be one of the most competitive fields. Every year, I feel like it's more competitive, and everyone's getting faster, and there's just more people. So I'm excited. Yeah. It's going to be a good day.
I mean, it was
hydrate, coach.
Oh, sorry, Carrie, go ahead.
I was just telling Natasha that she needs to hydrate as coach that day.
But if to think about it, last year, I mean, Texas was the very first race that we all caught attention to last year when Kat Matthews set a course record and took the win for the third time, if I'm correct. She set a new world's best time at the course, didn't she? And then Laura went on to beat her, and they both went under that world's best time in Hamburg at the European Championship. So it's the kickstart of, I know New Zealand was an amazing race as well, but I think Texas is the one that everybody puts their eyes on, and it seems like the depth of the field gets stronger and bigger every single year in Texas. I haven't seen the list of athletes, but I wonder, is Christian going to race that as well? I know he signed up for Roth. I think for some reason that it's in my head that he's doing it, that he was doing a whole load of races. That's what his plan was. And then he was going to race Challenge Roth in July. So
correct. That's what I saw as well.
yeah.
So here comes another showdown of epic proportions in Texas. Here I don't know what, like, the appeal of that course. Maybe the appeal is that it is a lot like Kona and it's good. I don't know, an early season rust buster for a lot of these athletes.
It's also a Pro Series race. Sorry, Natasha. It's also the Pro Series race as well. A chance for the athletes who have maybe, you wonder whether for Taylor, well, for Kat and Christian particularly, they'll have full points potentially in their races, or as close to maximum points in the Pro Series, and then maybe they can take a break for a little bit because they'll have maximum points for what they need in the Pro Series. The pressure is off early season, and can focus towards the end of the season as well. So I think that's why that race also gets the depth of the field as well. And even, if you consider, when we're talking about Sam Long, the opportunity, and Sam is an exceptional athlete in his own right, but the chance to race against the world champions that were all in Oceanside, you don't get that opportunity every time. So if Texas does have that depth of field that you would have in Kona, athletes, if I was a pro athlete, I definitely would be taking the chance to race against the best in the world if they're in my back garden. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way my mindset would be.
Yeah,
I think that's exactly right. I mean, even not having no Ironman like background, but just in like the World Triathlon aspect, like that's one of the biggest like issues here in the US with like draft legal racing is you can't race like there's not so many opportunities to race the best in the world in your backyard. And yeah, if that was a opportunity, like I think you'd have so many of the Americans going for it. So I think there's a lot to that, and also it being an early race to do that, so that you can then like kind of recalibrate, see if your like plan changes, or maybe just have that experience and not change anything.
Well, and speaking of racing against the best in the world, coming back to Oceanside a little bit, the chatter over the last couple of days, much has been said, thanks to an article that Slow Twitch originated, about just how many age group men and women beat a lot of the pros, specifically in Oceanside. It happens at every race that this happens, but perhaps there was a large proportion in this particular race that it became its own article and now has grown a life of its own, with opinions and thoughts around that. So I thought we should discuss it a little bit. And of course, Kelly would have her own take, and I'm sure we'll save some space for a Kelly rant next week on this one. But yeah, it was intriguing to me to see that. And I guess my first, again, as an age grouper who would never, ever be able to come close to any of the pros, my first thought as an empath was like, I just thought it was, I don't know, I thought it was in poor taste that they started calling out some of the pros by name that got beat by some of the age groupers, but that's just me. What are some of your thoughts around this? I'm not going to call it a controversy, but this position
Phenomenon.
that the sport, yeah, it's like this phenomenon that the sport finds itself in, because it's so nuanced and so multi-layered, because you've got different drafting rules for age group versus pro, that you've got fewer pros racing, so the swim is so start chatting about that and tell me some of your thoughts around that, because it's never just one thing.
Who wants to go first? I feel like there's so many ways to attack this conversation. I'll go first. So first of all, I'll just say the USA Triathlon has created a qualification criteria. There's multiple ways to qualify. Those that want to go for the goal of being able to call themselves a pro triathlete, have the opportunity to race the best in the world, they are looking at that and they're trying to qualify for that. More power to them. If they can qualify, I feel like, and they want to race as a pro and go against the best in the field, I'm like, yes, you go ahead. They've clearly outlined how you can do so. Now, is there a wide range of professionals? Because you have someone who's fully invested, has a full team to support them, have been in the sport for a long time. Yes, they're clearly going to do much better than there are many professionals that want to race as a professional and push themselves to that level, but they're working full-time jobs as well. And then we have, so wide range, and that's understandable. Then we have the fact that you're not going to always have a great day. So as it pertains to performance, I hate that they called out these pros, because now if I was still racing, I would be thinking, if I'm not having a great day, oh, I better drop off and just DNF. Otherwise, they're going to be calling me out that all these age groupers beat me. And that's so ridiculous, you know? So that's, we can speak to that angle, number one. Number two, there are so many age group athletes out there that could be pro and have earned their pro license. However, for them, they would rather win their age group or be able to go race at the World Championships and try to podium in the age group, then race and then be one of the last pros. So it's just like whatever direction you want to go. And that's why we're in this phenomenon. It's happening more and more. So I won't speak more. Let you guys weigh in. I could keep going.
Well, I feel like it's just annoying. Sorry.
I'll cut that out and edit.
It's a story.
Actually, Lydia, cut that out.
No, leave it in. It's
Okay.
really important. Go on, Katie.
Well, I feel like it's just annoying to have the comparison because, right, like Natasha's saying, it doesn't matter, does it? Like, if people want to be a pro who beat the pros, like they can qualify as a professional and they can race as professionals. And if you don't want that, then you don't do it. But like everybody on that race course is doing the best that they can, to your point of like, we don't know what that day looked like for any of them in terms of, well, at least I don't, because I didn't like go in and like look or follow anybody's social media. But I think it's just really like, it's making something out of nothing in the sense that everybody's just racing. And if they would like to be like you're saying, you can have people who aren't professionals and don't want to be professionals. Or maybe there's athletes who race that and they're like, oh, now I want to see like where I can go from here. And then the other aspect is those race dynamics can be also very different. So you can look at like two sides of it. They're not always very comparable. And like between the draft zones, between how the swim plays out, like triathlon's one of those that you can't look at the time and just be like, I actually always hated it when someone would be like, oh, you do triathlon, what's your best time? I was like, time's irrelevant. Like
Oh,
you're
God.
racing the people in your race, whether that's your age group or whether that's as a professional. So the professionals shouldn't care about the age groupers, and the age groupers, if they want to race against the professionals, then they'll be in that race. So I don't know. It's just like, to me, it's like, why is this a thing?
Yeah, I agree with you, Katie. I think to your point, they're completely different races. The pros have a completely different race. Yes, it's on the same race course, and this is my opinion. Don't really have an awful lot of opinion on a lot of things, but this is my opinion. They are completely separate races. The dynamics of racing in the pro field, men and or women, versus the age group racing is completely different. Like it regardless of the ability of the athletes that are in it, they are two separate races run on the same day. If you break it down, like the pro briefing's different, the rules are different for the pros in terms of the drafting, than the age group athletes. So it's like comparing apples and oranges, or maybe like an apple and orange juice trying to come together, and it's just not going to work. You know, and I don't know how I'd feel if I was the age grouper that was overtaking the pro athlete, or if I was the pro athlete who was being overtaken. I guess it depends on the person themselves and why they're racing. Ultimately, like, are you racing that race to beat a pro? Are you racing the race to do your best performance within the conditions and the racing that's put in front of you? So say we'd 70 women racing in the pro women, there was probably 400 women. If it was a rolling start in, say, waves or swim, like an age category, like they would do in Kona, there could be 300 or 400 women in that swim pack. So a good swimmer will you know, we know the dynamics of the race. And then, so a weaker swimmer that might be okay, might be on the draft of the feet of a really fast swimmer and have a really good, unexpectedly good swim. And then you get on the bike course and you've loads of people around you, loads of people passing you, you're being passed, there's a bit of energy, completely different to the pro women's race where they're like 20 meters apart. There's nobody around them. The dynamic is different, as we all know, in a race. And then the run course is just completely different because you don't know where you're sitting in a different position. So I think it's like, yeah, I don't know where the story or why the story has come out, but it's not the first time. I think maybe the story is out because it's the number of age group athletes in
That's
this
what I'm
particular
wondering.
race. Yeah, maybe that's it.
Yeah.
And then
I mean,
there's former pros, sorry, just even from my own experience, there's former pros racing races as well. So they're an age group athlete that's beating an existing pro that's having maybe not a great day, or maybe it's a new pro who's just starting out in their first pro race. You just don't know the dynamics. I don't know how I feel.
it's very it's so nuanced, and so when people just like keyboard jockey that it's too easy for women to become pros, or that all of these elite amateurs are doping or taking testosterone, like it's just an unfair argument to make when it is so complicated and nuanced. And I do want to give like a quick shout out to an age group triathlete who Kristen Radke, who I do not know, but in the Slow Twitch article, in the comments below the Slow Twitch article, she actually says, hey, I've never come. I had to create a Slow Twitch profile for me to reply to this. And she's like, she was the 10th overall female age grouper at Oceanside. And I've really appreciated her perspective as somebody who is at the pointy end of the amateur race. And she also says that she's been trying for over a decade to claw her way to a pro card, but she's still not able to attain it, despite having multiple top 10 70.3 age group finishes. And her quote that I just love is, she's like, it's actually not that easy to get your pro card, especially if you try to do it through the route that she's doing it, which is to become a top 3 amateur female finish at a qualifying race. So I do, I think people should, if they are inclined to read this article, read her
Can I just
comment.
add another question there, and maybe Natasha will know the answer to this? Is, you mentioned that USAT have very specific rules about how you get your Ironman, your pro license. Are the rules that
Yeah.
USAT have the exact same as the rules in every other single federation, which I don't think they are, which means that it's very
They're not.
different for pros to qualify in different countries? And if the percentage is different, so if you, there was a male young athlete, I remember, in Swansea a couple of years ago, and it was the year that Alistair Brownlee turned up and he won Ironman 70.3 Swansea. And this young male triathlete thought he would get to qualify in Swansea, but he wasn't within the right percentage of the winner because Alistair was there and had a big gap back to second and third. So the qualifying opportunities and standards are different. So how is it fair then to even compare the pros in the field when they're from all over the world and there was different pro qualifying opportunities? That's just my other hot take. Maybe we leave that one for Kelly.
Agreed.
Okay. Any final words on that?
Well, it's also kind of interesting on that point too, because so in the past for World Triathlon Racing, in the US, you would have to qualify for your pro license to race like our America's Cup level or our lowest level of like professional racing. And this year was the first change that now any age groupers can race. Like, so at Gulfport, anyone could have raced Gulfport, and put themselves into like the pro race,
Wow.
which I think was kind of, it's neat because if you want to, that's your like first entry level into racing, and you can just see what you can see how you stack up basically. But I actually don't know enough about like, qualifying to race as an Ironman as a professional. But how does it like, are our rules as Americans, or like is it more challenging or less challenging than the other countries?
More challenging.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's how it
So
was for us in World Triathlon until recently.
Yeah, I've seen other countries where all you have to do is apply and say, here are my results to show that you're doing pretty good and one of the better in your country, irrespective of how you're doing against other countries. And because you're the best of their country, they're like, yes, we'll push you as a pro and give you that opportunity. So yeah, no, it's not that easy to qualify. I know it wasn't that easy when I was doing it too. And they've made it harder at this point. So
All right. Well, ladies, keep it going. Like keep, and I say ladies, and I mean female triathletes, whether you are at the back of the pack or at the pointy end, just, keep cheering each other on, keep fighting the fight, and just keep your head in it. And again, remember the absurdity of all of this, of what we're doing, unless you're trying to go pro and make it your job. All right. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back and make a hard pivot. But I think a lot of it does have to do with suffering, which is what triathletes love to do. And we are going to talk about the rise of Hyrox and why triathletes seem to be attracted to this crazy newish sport. So we'll be right back.
Let's face it, as much as most of us love being outdoors, sometimes the outdoors doesn't love us. Like when it's 10 degrees below or pouring rain, or sometimes you've got a workout on tap that's just hard to do outdoors. Well, great news. We have partnered with Wahoo to offer you a special deal on the Wahoo Kicker Run, a revolutionary rethink of the traditional treadmill that will convert even the most diehard treadmill haters. I know because I was one. The Kicker Run is engineered to bring outdoor running straight into your home. With a push of a button, you can set up this machine to match your pace automatically, so you can just run, and it automatically adjusts with you instead of the other way around. By far, my favorite feature. It also has terrain simulation, so the deck feels like I'm on hard-packed trails with just enough give but no bounce. There's even a lateral tilt feature which mimics real-world terrain, varying the side-to-side angle to keep your muscles ready for outdoor running. Finally, the Kicker Run has unmatched connectivity. It seamlessly connects to the Wahoo ecosystem and third-party apps, so you can simulate routes from Strava or Zwift. Whether you're a triathlete, a devoted runner, or someone who just loves to stay fit, the Kicker Run is there for you, and honestly, it's just a beautiful machine. We love it, we know you will too, so check this thing out. Click the link in the show notes and use the code Feisty2026, all caps Feisty2026, to get a free Headwind Smart Fan valued at $300 with the purchase of a Wahoo Kicker Run today. I will drop a link in the show notes to make it a snap.
Feisty triathletes, if you're looking for new shows to listen to on the trainer or extra insight to help you race your best this year, then we have 2 new podcasts I want to make sure you know about. First up, we've relaunched the brand new Feisty Women's Performance Podcast, hosted by Dr. Erin Ayala, to provide women with science-backed answers to their health and performance questions based on research actually designed for women. Like, too often, sports science is based on men, and answers to even our most basic health and training questions come through a male lens. That's why this podcast aims to cut through the noise and get active women the insights they need. Whether it's how much protein you actually should be eating or how to manage sleep disruptions. The Feisty Women's Performance Podcast is out now with new episodes every Monday. And then our second new show is actually a show many of you may listen to already, but that's coming and growing under the Feisty umbrella. Trail Society, the iconic trail running podcast hosted by 3 amazing women, Corinne Malcolm, Hillary Allen, and Keely Henninger, covers all the science, training questions, and racing news in trail running. We're welcoming them now into the Feisty family, starting with their first 2026 episode featuring the amazing Western States winner, Abby Hall. So if you're looking to hit the trails this year, and who isn't, check out their weekly shows every Tuesday. So press pause right now and go follow, bookmark, save those 2 shows, Feisty Women's Performance and Trail Society, for your long run listening. We'll include links in the show notes, and if you like what you hear, be sure to share with your training buddies. Let's live our best, active, feistiest lives together this year.
Knowing which supplements to take and which ones to avoid can be super challenging. That's exactly why Feisty has partnered with Momentous. They built a reputation on a high-trust brand, sourcing the highest quality ingredients and holding themselves to a standard of testing and transparency. Every product is independently certified by NSF for sport or informed sport, meaning it's tested for contaminants, heavy metals, banned substances, and verified for label accuracy. So you always know exactly what you're putting in your body. Momentous has also teamed up with experts in the field to create the Women's 3, a package of iron, calcium, and vitamin D that provides women with their daily health needs. We also love their creatine and magnesium, proven to support your triathlon training. And right now, Momentous is offering Feisties up to 35% off your first order with the promo code FeistyTry. Head to livemomentous.com and use the promo code FeistyTry. That's livemomentous.com and the code FeistyTry, T-R-I, for 35% off on all the supplements that you need.
All right. So a year ago, I saw Natasha on the Instagrams posting from this CrossFit gym in Austin where we both live. And she was training for a Hyrox and getting her sled pushes on and her burpee broad jumps going and everything else. And I was like, I want to do this. And I had it in the back of my head that I also wanted to do it. And then when I saw Natasha, old buddy, old pal, old coach of mine, I was like, I'm going to go join her. So I joined the same gym she did. And I did some of the same workouts that she did. And we have both since raced Hyrox. But what is going on with the sport? So, Joanne, is it big in Ireland? Are you hearing about it in Ireland?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. You cannot get a ticket for a Hyrox in Europe, never mind Ireland. In fact, there's other versions of Hyrox have been created that are similar to Hyrox but different, if you know what I mean. And they're run under different brand names. And then there's local gyms getting together and running versions of Hyrox under a different brand name. So yeah, no, it's wild over here in Europe. It definitely is. And it's something that I would love to do. So I'm intrigued to hear what Natasha has to say about it. And how can we all do it?
Oh, that's what we need. Yes. Well, it started in 2017. So it is a fairly new sport. And last year they had over 1.5 million participants, and they are expecting that to grow. I know when I did Dallas last fall, there were over 17,000 people over the weekend that did the various races. And in Houston, I think recently they actually had to add days, if I'm not mistaken, because there was so much demand that they actually added competition days. And it does also seem like, at least in my algorithm, a lot of former pro triathletes and current triathletes are going to Hyrox. Sebastian Kienle, Coach Dan Plews is really big into Hyrox, of course. I did see where Jan, now that it's in my algorithm, because I was trying to do a search, Jan Frodeno just spoke at Hyrox Coaches Convention a couple of days ago. And I know Dan Plews wrote recently a piece about how, like, what Hyrox can learn from triathlon instead of trying to learn from CrossFit. So, Natasha, I'm just going to open the floor and with that question to you, which is, what can potential Hyrox athletes learn from the sport of triathlon?
So the first thing I did when I wanted to do Hyrox was I joined a CrossFit gym. As you said, that's where you saw me doing it. And every day we were doing these movements and my heart rate was getting 160, 170. I mean, I was going into zone 4, zone 5. And I'm like, wow, this is ridiculous that this is how Hyrox athletes are training, very much like this CrossFit style of workouts. And I thought there has to be a different way looking at the demands of the sport. And, obviously, if you look at the crossover from triathlon to Hyrox, the biggest one we see is you're running on fatigue legs, because it's mostly a running sport if you have to divide up the time. And so you're doing the strength segment and then you're having to go into a 1K run. There's obviously 8x1K runs, 8x8 strength stations. And so that's what triathletes do. You run with fatigue legs. And, I think outside of that, it's just like looking at the different demands of each thing that you need to do and working backwards from there. It just seemed to me when I was looking at it, the workout seemed very sporadic versus where we would look and build out a training program. You're trying to prioritize up to that point, right? Where you're starting in this case with aerobic run training and general strength training. And then as you get closer, what we do is we say, okay, what are the demands of the sport? How can we get more into race specific training and tie it all together? And that's how I started training. Now, I got appealed to it from triathlon, because of the running segment, it's easy to train for. You can do it anywhere. And then I think for us, after triathlon, what are we more after? Of just, we're longevity, feeling good. And we know that that strength training does make the body feel good. And it was maybe an element of training that we missed in triathlon. So it was also this like new challenge for me, because while I could swim, bike, and run, I could barely do a push-up. And so that's why I'm really interested in doing that. And then because the exercises are somewhat simple versus CrossFit, there's no way I could look at CrossFit and try to do it. These I can wrap my mind around, because it's all general strength movements that we were kind of doing in the gym anyway, except now you got to do 100 squats versus like 3x10 squats. So
Right.
yes, I've answered that in a really big roundabout way, but I think it's going to continue to take off here in the US. They've made so many more races, and I think it's because it definitely appeals to the general population of people that want to run. With Run Club boom, everyone likes to lift. It's so easy to tie it all together and honestly come off the couch in a sense and at least do the open weight done. Now, when you go to pro weights, that's like a totally different level. I did not expect how difficult that was going to be, and I did that and got my ass handed to me. I truly did, and yeah, I think more and more people are going to get into the sport because of the reasons stated.
Yeah.
They just need to train correctly, otherwise they're going to get hurt or they're going to get burnt
So-
out.
That's what I was
Yeah.
wondering. Is it time based on the sense of like how fast you're doing squats and things? So like how is that like monitored of like doing them the correct way?
Well, they're definitely like, so on the lunges, for example, like your knee has to hit the ground every time you lunge. You have to stand up completely to go through the complete motion. But you can easily hurt yourself, and
Yeah.
I did when you're trying to rush through things. And so what I did found getting into it is like you have to be really good in your technique to just go through the fact that you're doing 100 wall balls at the end. You need to be able to squat correctly with this heavy weighted ball and throw it up. So if you have bad technique, like you're really gonna struggle in that. And that's how we saw, I don't know if you guys saw Ben Canute. He did it at Ironman Arizona, and he was the fastest runner. And it was so fun to see him fly through the course, and all the other aid stations that were more cardio based through it. But then by the time he got to the wall balls, it was rather entertaining. I think he took like 4 minutes on the wall balls, where everyone else, like the pros, take 3 minutes. That's how bad he was in just kind of showing up.
So
to
can
do
I
it.
just ask, say the wall balls at the end, are they the same weight
Yeah.
for everybody, or do you get to pick your weight?
So there's open weights, which for the females, it's not that heavy. I think it's 4 kilograms, I believe.
Yeah, 9 pounds.
Yeah, thank you. And then it goes obviously up for the pro weights, and you think those couple pounds is not a big deal. It is a big deal. I remember going up from what I thought was easy to throw to I couldn't even do one of them. And so you can register for open or pro. You don't have to qualify to be pro. All you're doing is you're choosing the weight
Ah.
of the sleds, the wall balls, the bag that you carry for the lunges. And then there's a significant difference in the sleds. Like I could barely move the sled for the pro weight, whereas I could run with the open weight sleds. That's how different the demand of the
And
races.
so are they two separate categories then? So a winner in the open categories, winners in the men's category. Bit like our discussion on Oceanside on the pros. There's a pro race and an age group race.
Yes, except in Hyrox, you get to choose what you want to race in. There's no qualification necessarily to, like, I, as a first time Hyroxer, could have signed up in the pro category. It's really choose your own adventure, which was odd for me because I'm like, who would sign up for the pro category? Like, and the open, that you brought up a great point, Joanne, and like taking a step back with Hyrox. To me, the good thing about it, unlike what Katie said, where times in triathlon should be irrelevant, right? Different courses, different wind conditions, different water conditions, all of the factors that we should never compare a time from one race to another. Whereas Hyrox is a little more controllable. So whether I race in Texas or Belgium or Abu Dhabi, wherever, the conditions are relatively the same because they're mostly indoors in generic convention center halls that they turn into an arena. The weights are the same no matter where you go, and the distances are the same, and the exercises that you do are always in the same order. So it's very controllable. So to me, I like that, but I could also see where that could get stale a little bit, because part of what makes, I think, triathlon fun is you don't know what you're going to wake up to on race morning. And here it is a little more of a controlled atmosphere, but I also like that aspect of it. I think too, as far as triathlon goes, and Natasha, you sort of alluded to this, is that a Hyrox, or the hybrid athlete, which is sort of the new buzz phrase now, is, I think it's a very aspirational thing, because it means I'm fast and strong, and mixing those two is so appealing for that longevity.
Never mind the
aspect of
longevity.
life.
We're triathletes. We want to suffer. Suffer fest. I mean, let's be real about it. And I really liked your point, Natasha, about how you could swim, bike, and run, but you couldn't do a push-up. And I think that's probably maybe the beauty of the Hyrox. I've recently started going to like a boot camp. I rarely go to the gym. I would do swim, bike, run. And then when I'm traveling, it's very hard to do your own weight session, whatever. But I've started going to a boot camp. It's not Hyrox, but I absolutely love it. And I'm loving how I feel after I do the strength and conditioning. And I'd never do that if I was at home. And I think that's the other side of it as well with it, is that as triathletes, yes, you can be a great cyclist, but if your core goes, or a great runner, but if your core goes at the end of the run, you lose your form, or you're swimming, whatever it is, we as athletes, I'm taking the proverbial we of all of us, neglect strength and conditioning, because we got into the sport of triathlon because we either liked to run, to swim, or to cycle. And then strength and conditioning became this other thing we had to do. Whereas with Hyrox, you're kind of getting the best of both worlds, and you get to suffer, and there's a time at the end of it. And no matter where you go in the world, you can go for a time, because everything is almost, as you say, Carrie, controllable.
And there's a low cost, a low barrier to entry. There, obviously from a cost perspective, depending on how many races you do in a given weekend, you can escalate your costs. But in general, it's a couple $100 to do a race. And from a time perspective, your race is done. I mean, I think of it more of like a sprint triathlon that I am trying to race. So you're done in, for my first one, solo was like an hour 32 or something like that. But like, the pros go sub 1 hour all the way to, 2.5, depending on where you're at in your growth in the sport. But yeah, I mean, it's over. It's not a 14-hour day that you train for 8 months and like go through divorces and shit just to have Joanne call your name at the finish line of a race.
Hey, listen, I've never said I wouldn't be a Hyrox announcer. I mean, it's within the same category now, under World Triathlon. But funny piece of information that people might not know is that the founders of Hyrox, do you know who they are?
I read it. One of them is is he a swim runner?
So one of them is a former field hockey Olympic co-founder, world champion athlete, responsible for creating the brand's engaged community and fitness focus. That is Moritz Furze. And then a former endurance sport organizer, and I think he used to work for Ironman at some point, is Christian Totzke. He is the founder and CEO, known for his background in organizing professional cycling, marathon, and triathlon events. And I do think he did work with Ironman at some point, or there was some connection. So interesting how Hyrox is now considered like a hybrid endurance event and falls under that title, with somebody from a former endurance sport background joining us. Just thought it might be a fun fact for our listeners. There you go.
Yeah.
Read directly from AI on Google.
Yeah, well, and World Triathlon actually just approved a couple of new disciplines, one of them being this multi-sport competition called like fitness racing is sort of the generic phrase for Hyrox, fitness racing, and also swim run. So they unanimously approved these two new disciplines under the World Triathlon umbrella. So I think if nothing else, the sport of triathlon has seen an opportunity. Where did 17,000 people race in one weekend? The one I will say, just as like kind of a jock and like a tomboy, the one thing I was not prepared for, well, two things I was not prepared for. One was like, it's a very young sport. So I know in my, just again, one Hyrox I did in my age group, 50 to 54, there were maybe 65 of us, which was great. But like in the 30 to 34-year-old age group, I think I stopped counting at like 300. Like there were so many. So it's definitely this like vibe culture of it's a young person's sport. The other thing that I did not get the memo, and Natasha's laughing, is
I
that
know exactly what
Clothing?
you're gonna say.
yes, like the whole Taylor Swift
Makeup
concertness of all of it. Like
there. Yes.
it freaked me the F out because I'm so used to showing up on a start line, like generally at 3 a.m. at a triathlon, no makeup, barely any sleep, just like, all right, ready to put my game face on. I did not realize that people showed up in costumes and full faces of makeup and the glitter. And so I almost left.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a fair warning to people. If you are thinking about getting into it, it's a culture
Yeah.
that I
Can I
was
ask a
not
little
prepared
serious
for.
question? And I've never been at the Hyrox event, so I don't know if this is something. But you mentioned there that in the 30 to 35-year-old category, Carrie, that there was huge numbers. Do you think is there potential for Hyrox to be a funnel for athletes to move into triathlon? Because I imagine,
I was thinking the
yeah,
same
I just
thing.
wonder, like it's capturing that younger market that still know how to run. Running is booming here in Ireland and the UK. I'm not, and even in Europe. I'm not sure if it's similar in the States and beyond. But I just wonder, is there a market there that triathlon can be tapping into? And I'm at any level, like sprint, Olympic, moving into the bigger distances, because again, for the longevity piece, nobody's thinking about longevity in their 30s, but when you get to 45, 50, 60, you're thinking about longevity in sport and maybe moving towards Hyrox. Is there a unique opportunity here that we have to get more fantastic people into our sport, men and women?
Yes, absolutely. We're seeing the crossover. So the average age of my team is 25 to 30-year-old men, and they're coming from and women. My team is mostly men. Surprisingly enough, we'd like to get some more women into it, but we are benefiting from the run boom. And we are seeing that these athletes are doing high rocks. And as you talked about, they are getting stale from doing the same thing over and over. And they're like, okay, one of their buddies goes into triathlon and they see how exciting it is now to ride their bikes and to add something else. And everyone wants to challenge themselves with swimming nowadays. So there's just going to be massive crossover on both. And we're seeing athletes do both, even at the highest level. I have an athlete who came fourth at Little Elm. He's doing Hyrox Miami this weekend because it's in his backyard. And then he's going to do PCB 70.3 here in 5 weeks' time, just because the movements kind of cross over and the running training that he's doing for 70.3 training does cross over to Hyrox. I just think there's going to be a massive boom across the board. And I'm seeing it in the growth of our team here in Austin as well.
How many people, Natasha, under the NVDM umbrella, multi-sport as a whole, how many athletes are you and your team working with?
We're in the 600s range. So yeah,
Congratulations, that's amazing.
we just hired two more coaches. And I got asked, how are people hearing from us? And there's a big word of mouth. Their friend gets into it and then brings along four more friends. And then day and age of social media, I feel like we have gone in and really capitalized on that as a team, that it's just in our space is not not being capitalized on as much as we
I'm
are.
addicted to your
So
swim videos, by the way. Hashtag. I'm
Me
stalking you
too.
for your swim technique videos.
Me
I
too.
appreciate
I'm too scared to actually drive the 15 minutes to the pool where Natasha's on deck because I don't want to be in a pool with 30 other people. But I am following those videos like a student. Yes.
You know, I got pushed into doing that. Like one of my athletes who did his own social media, he said, "Oh, let's just film you doing a tip. Let's throw it on your social. Let's see how it does." And sure enough, it got like 500,000 views. And we're like, "Well, let's do another one." And then sure enough, and so what was a personal, random person like triathlon tips became a swim account. And now I go to races, and they just know me as the swim coach, but then we've been able to capitalize on it because it draws people into the sport of triathlon. So
Yeah. Well, and
That's amazing.
what you have built in the last 6-7 years is nothing short of 5 years has nothing short of
Wow.
phenomenal. And my wish for you, Natasha, is peace in your life. As you know, we have this conversation quite a bit where I was like, girl, you need to you find some white space in your life. And I know that you are now actively working towards that. But before we wrap up, I wanted to because you actually hired a hybrid coach, a Hyrox coach under NVDM. So for people that are thinking, like Joanne, myself, Katie, who might want to do a Hyrox someday.
She said she won't do an Ironman, but she could do a Hyrox.
I think that would be more possible.
Yeah, you'd be home by lunch. That's the cool thing. Is like you'd be home by lunch. Where should people begin? Because if CrossFit's not the best way, that's where a lot of people are going, and that's where I go. I go to a CrossFit gym to do Hyrox training because they have the equipment. But where should somebody begin if they want to figure out how to balance these two disciplines that, strength and endurance?
yeah, I mean, yes, I can plug my coach that's, creating programming for mostly triathletes moving over and wanting to dabble in both. That is pretty much why we created it. So we didn't like to lose our athlete, or we are able to give support to our current athletes. Do we draw in just the Hyrox athlete? No, we don't. But there are so many incredible programs out there. However, we are seeing most people going to a gym, and everyone is picking up on the fact that this is a hot new sport. If we are not offering Hyrox programming, we are missing out. And so I bet you if you look around, every single gym has some Hyrox programming, and there's benefit to it. Community is everything. So if you can dive into community, you have to go that direction. But then you got to learn the form. As we talked about, you can easily hurt yourself when you're doing 100 of these things. And if you're doing it incorrectly, you're going to hurt yourself. But then you have to develop efficiency in the movement because you've got to do that thing. And now you've got to go run a 1K as fast as possible. And your best bet is to do it in person with a coach looking at you. So that the reason why you'd maybe get a online program is if you just are a 4 a.m. warrior, right? And we do have a lot of those parents that they have to get it in before they take their kids to school or middle of the day, and those class offerings are not something that you can access. Then you get a coach, and then also make sure it's designed for you so you don't burn yourself out. So a lot of the programs you get in and you go hard every single time. You have to make sure that it's balanced out. You go hard maybe twice a week, especially with these strength movements. That's the other thing. It's like you think about how you divide up your training in the gym. If you're doing upper body, you can't do upper body again the next day and the next day and the next day. Like the demand is so much. You need to have the designated days to lift and then deload off that to then build the actual strength. So look for that in programming.
Thank you. And become a solid endurance runner, because it is a running sport with some functional strength built in. It is mostly a running sport, and the research is bearing that out. If you're not a good runner, you will suffer at Hyrox. If you are a good runner, the other disciplines are trainable, is what my experience has been.
I would 100% agree. Yep.
Yeah.
Katie,
well, Natasha,
Katie, are we signing up? Sorry, Carrie.
I could rationalize this because the strength is the skippable part for me. It's like even right now, like it's like, well, what can I do that makes it easier? And I think like I'm looking for the running side is the community now that I'm like retired. I'm looking for it in the strength side because like, yeah, I just want, as especially coming from the elite side, like I just want it to be fun and also have that community aspect to it. And it's not like 10 hours for a competition like Ironman would be for me.
Yeah. So, and you would, I mean, yeah. And I hear that there's this coaching program, NVDM, that might have some online programming for you that would work within your schedule. So,
Yes. Yes.
well, thank you all for allowing me to sit in this week. Kelly will be back next week. I don't know any of your travel schedules. Joanne, you're probably off in the Southern Hemisphere somewhere again.
No, I'm going to Croatia. So I'm actually doing a UTMB trail race that I started training for yesterday or Monday. 20 kilometers. I put on my new trail runners on Monday and I did 2.5K. And then I did 3K last night, warm up before a 5K time trial on the track. So I'm looking forward to that, heading to Croatia to the UTMB race and then going straight to a mountain bike race after that. So not sure if I'll be around next week or the week after, but I'll be back definitely towards the end of April.
Excellent.
Awesome. Good luck.
Excellent. And everybody have a great holiday weekend. And Natasha, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a real treat.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet.
Hey, Feisties. Feisty CEO Sarah Gross here, interrupting your podcast to tell you about the new event we launched in 2026. It is the biggest event we've ever had at Feisty, and we are excited to bring everyone together in one place. If you've been around for a while, you know we've done a lot of events over the years. Conferences, retreats, live podcasts, group runs and rides, and for a while now, we've been dreaming of something bigger. Of one event that brings all our communities together. A weekend free from judgment, full of science-backed health information and fun activities. And most importantly, completely free from the chaos of the outside world. That weekend is here. Feisty Fest is coming to the east coast of the US, September 18th to 20th, 2026 in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. It's 3 days of doing the sports you love, experts who give you straight answers about your body, and a community of women who move because it's who we are. No weight talk, no influencer culture, no one needing anything from you. Just 3 days of being completely, unapologetically yourself. This is our first ever East Coast event, and I cannot wait to meet you all there. And the first 100 women to register get a free Feisty Fest crew neck sweatshirt with a custom design by artist Lisa Congdon. It's really nice, so y'all should jump on that. They're going fast. Head over to feisty.co/events to grab your spot. The link will be in the show notes. Come get a little feisty. I'll see you in September.